he was he was asking me tax questions. This is too good. He was asking if you could deduct state tax from your federal income tax return. Yeah, a lot of people, say you shouldn't do business with your friends, but I obviously disagree with that one. I think you have a good quote. Can I steal it? Like,
Yeah,
just don't do business with or you can work with your friends as long as they're not idiots.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be friends with idiots.
Yeah.
Or the friends who you should work with.
Yeah, I got friends. You're the only one who's at FloQast. All right, let's keep going down your list.
I wanted to dig in on the CS side of things. Obviously, something I'm very passionate about. There's a two-parter here. One I had is like you have to continue learning, like this 10,000 hours concept. Like we've got 10,000 hours in SaaS easily, right? So
Yes.
I would say we're experts there. I think it's important to be an expert and learn from other companies, but it's also important to differentiate. So you've always been really good at this and standing your ground when we want to zag.
Mhm.
Hey, we just do this different. And I talk about this so much in product of like, okay, we can build this, but how are we going to do it differentiated from the competition or something like that? But you've been really good from a business sense. And one of those is like investing in CS.
Mhm.
It's easy to look at CS as just this number related to gross margin. But you've always taken a much longer term view on it. Like, hey, if we can make these customers successful, they're going to be with us a long time, right? And the metrics show that. I think the other thing on CS, one of my thought processes throughout our journey was, how do we make this customer referenceable? I remember early on, there was a customer, Ancestry.com, still with us today. That was like the really turning point for me of when I thought FloQast could be a big business, because we didn't have the functionality for them to be successful on FloQast. But we were open, honest, transparent about it. So we weren't sleazy in the sales cycle. We didn't oversell. So good value there.
Yep.
But we kind of talked through their needs on like a multi-entity structure, something that's just core to our business today, but we didn't have it back then.
Yeah, like
They had 50 business units. We didn't have any multi-entity concept in FloQast. And they looked at our product and how we were approaching it. And they're like, hey, we want to work with you guys. And my thought was like, if we can make Ancestry a referenceable customer after 9 months, we're going to get a hell of a lot more businesses that look like them.
Yeah.
And that same concept is just playing over and over in FloQast history, right? I think investing in customer service, like everybody having, somebody they know they can reach out to on the support side, like, so many people want AI. How do you automate support? It's like, no, people want to talk to somebody. They don't want the black hole of support.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have the answer, say you got the support ticket. Say I'm looking into this. Like a little bit goes such a long way.
This comes from two things I would say is number one, my experience with customer service from other financial technology providers I've worked with. I'm not going to name any of them, but I have not received the best customer support in my life. And then number two, it's really easy to make a decision like this when you have a clear long-term vision.
Yeah.
It's like if our plan was to get to 10 million of revenue and sell in 2 years, we would not have been thinking that way. It's like, oh, let's maximize margins. We can't burn cash. We got to make as much money as we possibly can. But when it's more like, no, we want to build a big lasting business and, go public, get to 100 million. You're not going to do that by being short-sighted about stuff.
Yeah,
and customer, It's an investment. It's not cheap. It's part of why we've raised so much money is to like fund customer success. And so I hope all of our customers really enjoy their accounting success manager, which we know they do based on survey results.
Makes a difference.
So that's awesome. And it does make a difference. And yeah, that whole just like, even as simple as a human getting back to you really quickly saying, I'm looking into this, like even if you don't have an answer right now, just having the peace of mind that there's a person who cares about you and is looking into your problem.
And it sounds so simple, right? But like, there's arguments that have to be had to like, hey, this is how we're going to do this, right? We're going to spend the money here.
It blows me away. And we have killer margins too. It's like, I don't, all right, we don't need to talk about this little secret too much. We'll let everyone else struggle with not investing in customer success, but yeah, huge, obviously. And you've done a great job building out that team. And it was really cool to see your role naturally evolve like product and customer, because they're obviously then so interrelated. It's like customer feedback into the product loop and just boom, that's the cycle. And then it's worked out really well. Any, as you reflect on like maybe other customers, any key meetings like that just really were big ones in FloQast history that changed the company?
Yeah, there's nothing that just pops out to me as like key customer meetings, but like, it was cool when we did like the user conference in person, or you go to a NetSuite conference and like you hear back from the customers that like, yeah, we are different
Yeah.
than all these other vendors. And like we actually have fans of our product. Like it's like I'm not a fan of like a ton of the software stack that we use internally. There's a couple out there. But yeah, it's just cool to hear from the actual people doing their job. I think that's the hardest thing in my role right now is oftentimes like the tough customer situations are the ones that roll up to me.
Yeah.
So I've like really tried this year to get on just as many like normal customer calls as possible because like I need to hear some positive stuff
Yeah.
too to keep going. It can be hard if all you're hearing is the negative and what's wrong. When like the majority of things about our customers we're getting positive experiences, but you always go to the negative comments.
Yeah.
You go to the negative review, you go to you see that in your own life, right? That's why social media is so bad. You're always going to index on the negative instead of the
Yeah.
positive. So
It's like, oh man, these 10 customers are unhappy. Yeah, but the other 2,490 are happy. Like,
yeah, but that's what like
they
keeps
just don't
me up
email
at
us
night.
because they're happy. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean that's part of what you have to focus on to build
Yeah.
a great company. But yeah, you've done a really good job finding that balance. All right, what else do you want to go back to?
What was your last one?
The last one is building a startup is a journey unlike any other.
Yeah, so you probably took it from like this lovey-dovey angle. The journey is better than the end or something like that. I guess the other advice that I'd give to like anybody thinking out there like starting a company is it's hard and it doesn't ever get easier. Like I'm just going to be real.
I kind of think it gets harder.
Yeah, you'd think like, okay, we've got more resources, we can get more shit done. Like the problems just change and you've got to reinvent yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting when we bring in these experts, you're looking at people who saw a company at a specific time, like somebody who got a company from 10 million to 100 million, 100 million to a public company, that kind of stuff. And we've almost had to reinvent ourselves over and over throughout that process.
As founders, you're saying.
As founders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As
yeah.
literal people, we've had to do that.
Yeah. And some of that just, I try to constantly educate myself. Shout out to Jason Lemkin. Like SaaStr is like one of the most amazing resources. What he's done for the SaaS community is amazing. But whenever I feel like I'm in a rut, like I actually go and I like to read a physical book every once in a while.
Nice.
And, I'll bring stuff to the table. Like I saw it on your desk today. There's a book, Play Bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like I read that and brought that to the group. I just felt like we were kind of needed like a little something to get us to this next position.
Well, Play Bigger to me was a huge moment in FloQast history, actually. Like, okay, so that led to us taking our workflows and being like, wait, this closed workflow is being applied to other things by our customers and by Zoom in particular. That's a pretty powerful understanding. And then, okay, this Play Bigger thing is basically the big point that struck out at me was the Dr. Scholl's product model and how Dr. Scholl's created a foot insert, right? So they sold to add one product, and then they realized that they could maybe add a gel insert to one and have another product. And
all of a sudden, that's the sport
and
version.
then maybe make this one green, and that's the leprechaun version. And then you can and they took one product and turned it into 20 for very cheap and went to market with that and had premium prices and all this kind of stuff. And it was like, man, that's like a very similar concept. So little stuff, that's a good book, good choice.
Yeah. So whenever I kind of find myself in a rut or like we're like kind of approaching where we need to like, not pivot the company, but evolve a little bit. Like I just try to see what's out there, read up on that. And you got to kind of keep learning, right? Like,
oh yeah,
I think you've got good connections on like, we've got VCs, we got people on the board. You can lean on that too. They can intro you to other founders. People have done it at these different stages. So it's always great to hear from people. But every company is a little bit different. So you got to kind of take that advice and apply what works at FloQast.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you say that. So I have a great mentor in particular who's CEO, has done this before. He's been amazing to work with. But not all CEOs are great. That's kind of the reality of it. And I remember really early on asking one of our investors if I could shadow some of their CEOs. I'm just like, what do these guys do all week?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what does a week look like for somebody? And they actually refused to do it. They're like, no, we don't want you to do that. Like, we do your thing. CEOs are different. Do it your way.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because one of my points is like kind of stay in the weeds.
Mhm.
Which you'd think like, okay, you start hiring people, you're going to shift from execution to strategy. And all these young people, I want to do more strategy, right?
Oh yeah.
What I would say to that is like, execute, get shit done. Going back to my audit days, my partner loved me because I got shit done.
Yeah.
Get shit done, execute, and then you'll get pulled into these other meetings, right? But you got to really do the task at hand, do it really well. And since we've been at every stage of this company, like the thing that I can help most on the product side is getting in the weeds on product, right? Like I've brought in really great product leaders to help with overall product process here at FloQast. But where I can help is if a PM wants to get in the weeds on any area of the application and get my opinion, I'll have an opinion.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I don't know. That's how I know how to operate. I'm going to get in the weeds a little bit.
I think that's a unique thing about a founder executive is they hold on to the in the weeds stuff. I think to some people to a bit of annoyance.
It's a fine line there.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fine line. I think when it's like a net new product, like we've had some success, like, you're making 1 million decisions on a net new product. For an existing product, like, the PMs will proactively reach out and get my feedback. So that's nice. I'm not like hounding them for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a fine line.
What else you got? What do you want to go back to?
Yeah, I wanted to, one thing I realized about you over the years is I'm like, why is Mike an asshole sometimes? And sometimes that's your job.
Yeah.
Your job is to put pressure on the company. Like your job is to speed things up, right? And we got to get this shit done. Make everything matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've been able to hit those deadlines across the way, and build on those metrics because you've put pressure on a lot of different scenarios. And like sometimes I'm like, oh man, like why do you care so much about this one thing? But it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's good at the end of the day. And I think that is part of your job is to just make things like, hey, we got to get this shit done now. Right. Yeah. So that was just kind of a reflection on 10 years of like, that's a hard job. Like, I don't have the personality.
I tried to balance it.
Yeah, no. I think you do a good job with it, but I think that is just part of the gig if you want to drive people to success.
Mm-hmm. Right. I try. You got to deploy that like really selectively. It's not a good leadership tactic, right? Like I'm not going to be on an all hands meeting being an asshole about something.
Yeah.
But like if we're in a smaller meeting and it's just like, no, seriously, this shit's got to get done. Like what's going on? Like within our closer executive circle, you guys can handle that, and you're used to working with me and me being more direct and blunt. Like I'm happy to speak that way at our C-level meetings. But yeah, that mode where you're like, oh, Mike can be an asshole. Like I don't think a lot of the company has seen that on display. It's like, maybe I'm wrong, but some people might
that
be
in
a
like
little
an
surprised.
endearing way.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. But no, it's a tough line to balance, man. That's a really tricky part of this whole thing.
But the other side of that is like I do think speed wins.
Yeah.
Speed of execution is key, and I think that's something that Cullen's really good at. Is like he can get into any scenario and just like figure out the path to get that done.
Yeah.
Right. And like not argue about all the minutia, just like, hey, it might not be, we might accumulate some tech debt doing it this way, but hey, we're going to make this customer happy. Like that's how we built this company. That's why customers love us too.
Yeah.
So I think Cullen does a really good job.
Cullen's really great at it. And I think going back to the founder dynamic, like when I talk to investors about us, when I'm out raising, they're like, tell me about your co-founders. What's the story? Because I want to know about how you came together and what the dynamic is. It's like, it's really great. Like Cullen and I are pretty similar personalities, right? Yeah. He's a tech version. I'm an accountant version. I'm the CEO. He's a CTO. We're pretty similar personalities, very fiery. And you're this like calming influence in the middle of us who's the product and customer expert. And it's like a beautiful balance to have all of that going on, because if Colin and I are getting too intense about things, you can kind of center that and bring it back to normal. And then we all just push each other really well. Like everyone pushes each other to do more and get
Yeah.
stuff done faster.
Yeah. I remember early on, like, we can look at some old contracts where we're promising the world of all these features we're going to build. And I remember like very early on, it's like, hey, we can't build this next thing because the app is breaking every day. But the flip side of that is like, we've got to continue to build and add more for our customers, right? So it's a push and pull.
That's a really good learning experience. So like early on, we signed a couple deals where it was like, we're going to build all this stuff. And then I think within about a quarter of supporting clients, we realized like, wait, a lot of effort's going to be put into just like fixing this and handling customer support. And it's not like about new products. So we really quickly were like, we can't be over promising and under delivering here. So we took I think it was around like Q2 of 2015.
Yeah.
Like a very strict, right around when we would have been talking to Ancestry. It's like, all right, but we can't overpromise when we're going to get this done. And that was our real establishment of like underpromise, overdeliver. And I don't even think we like guaranteed a timeline for them. We're just like, we're going to try this and we'd love to work with you. And then when you get it out faster than they would have expected, it's like you have a delighted client. And so that was like, that right there was a really interesting learning early on, because we're so naive. And I'm thinking oh, we're done with the close. We'll go on to this next and then this next. And in 12 months, we'll have this whole platform.
There's a rabbit hole. We'll be working on the close for another 10 years.
We still are. For our current clients, we have a ton of people working on the close still. So you'll be happy to know that it's going to keep getting better and better.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. I want to throw, I poke fun at marketing a little bit here. I want to throw them a bone. In college, all the way back to college, I started to form this like, what does marketing do kind of thing. And I always viewed it as like the soft kind of artsy creative major within the business school. I don't think I'm the only one who has that perception.
Stereotype for a reason.
I pulled that through all the way to FloQast. Did not understand why we'd have to hire marketers. And instead, the reason we were so predictable on being able to do the customer count at the end of 2015, like what you were saying earlier, is because instead of going to market with a marketing first lens, we did the business development rep.
Sure.
We read the book Predictable Revenue, and that makes it does make it predictable. It's formulaic. It's like, if I have X number of BDRs sending X emails, making X calls, X number of people will respond, Y people will close, Z people will pay us this much, and we'll be this at the end of the year. And it works. Like, you just got to get your metrics down, but it works.
Got to do the hard thing.
It's just expensive. Marketing is much like this path of less resistance. It's a lot cheaper to just spend money on programs, and you can always dial it back if it's not working. Mm-hmm. When you hire a person, you've committed to that person. It's a much higher risk kind of endeavor. So all that said, I was just like, man, I want to know what's coming in the door, and I don't really respect marketing that much. So we didn't do it. So we went for the first, it was like a year of selling before we even hired our first marketer. It was all BDRs and AEs. And then we brought in Sylvia Lepoitovin. Shout out to Sylvia. She was awesome and helped stand up her whole marketing function from scratch. And as I reflect on my time, I really regret not getting a Sylvia in the building like 12 months earlier. Seeing what happened when we had real marketing, like a good website, better positioning and messaging, and just like we're more serious about it.
Yeah.
I think it did us a really big disservice not doing it earlier. Our bar was not terrible. I wish our bar had been a little earlier and I'd carved out one of the BDR headcount and had that be a marketer up front. I think we could have gotten a lot more done.
Yeah, and my lesson on that front is from more the product marketing lens. But like, you do all this stuff to build a product. You think you're building the right product, but like, it takes a village to get that product adopted, right? You learn so much as you're trying to onboard people and what resonates, what's the messaging that resonate, and hey, I'm not ready to do this right now. Like, you've got to come with some compelling messaging to get it on their desk to actually take action on something. You would think that an existing customer would adopt a net new feature pretty easily. Like they got that, everything's set up already. Just add the next thing on.
We turned it on. Just go for it.
Just go for it. But it's almost easier for a net new customer because like, that's just how FloQast works now. So I'm going to get trained from the start on everything that we have versus like, okay, I don't have this active training session and this hard date where we're getting everybody together and launching this thing. It's a little bit more soft of like, well, I'm closing the books. I'm doing fine. Like, do I need to do this other thing? Right? Or you're getting to a net new person, right?
Yeah.
Like you're moving down from the controller to more of the staff accountant who's doing the work on the auto rec side. So, just the different personas. I didn't really have a respect or really understand all the challenges that positioning and messaging. And shout out to our product marketing team for standing that up. It's been a huge help.
Dude, I think product positioning and messaging, I think, was something that, not to toot my own horn, I was kind of like inherently good at. I didn't know it because I didn't know that's what it was called. And I think, the Dunning-Kruger effect, where, what is it? The more you learn about something, the less confident you feel about it because you really go down the rabbit hole and realize how difficult it is. I think marketing is a department that has arguably like the biggest Dunning-Kruger effect because people see marketing, they see advertising, and they're like, what's so hard about that? Just do this marketing. But like, as we've hired marketing executives, particularly as we've hired Win, our former CMO, and then Ed, our current CMO, when you start to understand everything they do and all of the disciplines that go into it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so complicated and there's so much going on here.
It's like 10 different, very different roles.
All these different disciplines. It's like you have to be creative, you have to be quantitative, you have to understand psychology and what's going on, and then to pay attention to the market and what's changing and how do we react to all of that. So it's like,
and they're all intertwined. But then, like, separate, product marketing is its own discipline, field marketing, something like
demand generation, brand, content creation. FloQast Studios is like a subset of like market. So it's wild. So this is one. Marketing is an underrated tool. And for those of you who are not marketers and think you could be a marketer, I would challenge you to go into marketing and go down into the depths of it. And like,
it is even like saying you would go into marketing, like,
which part?
What part?
Which job? Part? And tell me more about what that job does.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if you ask an average person what a demand generation specialist does, they wouldn't know what that means. But that's like a specific, very important discipline within marketing. So I know I ribbed on our marketing team a little bit for all this, but putting content like this together is part of their job.
Really
but
good.
I want to plug on fun. But no, seriously, marketing department, awesome job. And it is a challenging role. Like, again, I appreciate it a million times more today than I did when we started the company. All right. Be competitive. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah, we talk about that a little bit. Like, I'm not the most competitive person myself, but you are. Cullen is. So I think I've learned to be competitive through osmosis, through you guys. That's where my comment about like putting pressure on things, like it's good having an enemy. You can rally a lot of people around that, and we've had pretty good enemies over the years and how they treat customers and act in the market. So it's been almost easy to jump on board with the competition stuff.
Yeah, I've found, so I'm going to go back to one of the prior ones, giving people a purpose. Like having, teams bond in the spirit of competition, like for like you're forged in the flames of competition. And that is the best way to put pressure on us getting stuff done. Like, oh, we lost this deal for XYZ reasons. Like, let's go build that, or let's get this sorted out, or we need to change the positioning or messaging for this. And that competition is why capitalism is beautiful, and it keeps everyone on their toes and keeps everyone progressing forward as fast as possible. Like that it's what drives it all and
drives progress.
And it drives progress. And it's just it's like the most important thing within capitalism. And what's great for customers is at the end of the day, to be hyper competitive, we have to provide the best product and the best support. So it like ends up with the best human results. I think one of the things I'm really realizing is I need to balance my desire to win and make sure that I'm not like over indexing on that versus keeping our customers happy and building stuff for new customers. We haven't talked about this. Actually, this is like a recent revelation I'm having, is how do we balance thinking about the competition versus maybe we shouldn't do that just to react. Like we stay with what we're going to do, and
everything's situational.
Yeah.
Right. Like you gotta put it on the table and balance it against like, well, what will we not do because of that?
Well, that's where you come into play, right? So I'm the psycho who's pissed that we lost the deal. And then, I'll come to you. I'm like, we got to build this, we'll do all this stuff. And then you're like, okay, but there's a roadmap and we're going to do this. And we have customers who want this built for us. So we're going to do that. And that's again, back to like the founder dynamic and having the right team. Like
but if I just came in and didn't listen and just said, hey, we've got too much on our plate, that you wouldn't respect that either.
Yeah,
Right.
no.
Like I gotta at least, I gotta take that seriously and understand, hey, maybe there's a path where we can do both.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so
So I thought the competition was a great way, to drive us forward, and then also build a culture around. I mean, that was
yeah,
like
yeah,
having the
that's
shared
important.
enemy,
The
and
purpose is big, and I think you've done a really good job of building that purpose. The last one I wanted to talk about, there's something I forget how it was phrased in the article about getting in other people's domains.
well, I have surround yourself with experts, find a good co-founder mix, care more about your role, have a big goal. Transparency is
Now,
key.
caring more than just your role,
Yes.
right? Like, there's been this interesting dynamic where people getting involved or trying to understand like other domains and FloQast can be perceived as like stepping on people's toes, which I
Oh
know
my
you hate.
gosh.
look,
Yeah.
look at the disgusted look on your face.
Stepping on toes. Oh my gosh.
But like good ideas come from anywhere. And I think I'm in the position I'm in on the product side right now because I've worked with so many people at FloQast. Like I think when you and Rob kind of pushed me to take this role, part of that was, well, you're already close to the customers. You got a good dynamic with Cullen, and you've worked with the engineers over the time back to like the days in the house. And then like I've been always curious. I've learned so much about the sales side and go-to-market side over the years. Like that's a domain that I knew nothing about,
Mhm.
but like I've just learned from the team there, and I want to help that team win, right? So I just had like good advocates everywhere across the entire company that I knew, product is an extremely cross-functional role.
Yeah.
So I knew that like one thing that I could help the product team do is like get in front of the right people in different organizations, right? So I think that's been a bit of a key to all of our success of founders is we can weigh in on any of these topics. Like
Mhm.
Cullen can weigh in on sales, Cullen can weigh in on marketing. Like that's back to the 10,000 hours in SaaS and
Yeah.
FloQast. It's just like we are experts of this whole company. And while like I'm on the product and CS side, like if I've got an idea in sales and marketing, like I feel perfectly fine bringing that to the table and pushing those teams.
Yeah.
I'm like, tell me why this is not a good idea. Just like you would come to the product with
Yeah.
your ideas.
Well, great example, like FloQademy. We
Yeah.
put that out and you're like, this is a product. We got to launch this for free. Like we got to think about it like a product, and it's not your domain. You know what I mean? To like sit there and push marketing to push this out. Like that's, you're stepping on toes, I guess. But
Working with bigger customers.
I like to say stepping on toes is collaborating and getting
Yes.
stuff done. Like, what the hell? It blows me away. Yeah. And I think one of the things I've noticed is that the people who care about more than just their role are the ones who naturally advance at the company. Also, you look at all the people over time who have moved up in FloQast, they obviously had a role, but they were into other things that are going on. Like Adam Zuha, selling, but cared about the marketing. He wanted his leads. He cared about product. When's that coming out? He cared about like HR stuff enough to then go and launch our office in EMEA. Shavang Patel, super early account executive for us, became a sales engineer, helped build out a whole function. Obviously there he's interacting closely with product as well. Then goes over to our business development team, helps build out SAP and Microsoft. So now he knows the BD function. He's working with marketing, customer, product, product marketing, through all of that, pulling everything
being
together.
Curious, right? Like I that's like when I step back and think about like the long-term employees at FloQast, like that's been the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Is just seeing how their careers at FloQast. They've had multiple careers at FloQast, like myself.
Yeah.
Like I've had multiple careers. I was thinking the other day, here's a shower idea. We need to do an immaculate grid.
Okay.
Of departments on the X and Y axis.
Yeah.
So sales and partnerships, and who's the immaculate grid there?
Oh, that's such a cool idea.
So maybe we can get that together for FloQast Go.
Well, that's a really cool idea. All right, we'll chat with marketing about that, because marketing also hosts your company all hands meetings when you get together. That's another part of their job.
Another
you
part of
don't
their
think is
job.
part of their job.
Yeah. Probably more effort that goes into that than take control.
Oh
It's
my
wild.
gosh, yeah! Like the Take Control and FloQast Go are their Super Bowls of the year. They're busy seasons, if you will.
Yep.
From there, and the other thing I'll note, like we're a software as a service company. We put the software and the service into SaaS. To me, what speaks volumes to me is the people who attend our optional product office hours. Those are the people who care about what's going on around here. What are we building next? Where are we
If you're
going?
an employee, hope to see you at the next one.
I do like, that's one where I'm like, oh, okay, cool. These people are
I always
on
love
this.
like when we're going through the slides and the team's like, oh, this is a lot of slides. I'm like, that's great. Like,
Imagine if there were no slides.
yeah, there's just too much product to talk about.
Too much product.
I'll give you an insider for Take Control. We're prepping for the roadmap session. That's for our customers only. And Colleen, our product marketing head, she's like, this is like 70 slides. Like, should we like squeeze this down? And I'm like, no, we're going to get through 70 slides.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah. And I'm like, this
How
is
long
going to
is
be
it?
fast and furious. And we're doing all these updates.
We're going to do it in an hour?
We're doing them all.
All right. Hey,
We're doing them all.
give the people what they want.
That's what we want, right?
Yeah.
We want to show that we're updating the app everywhere, right? And I want customers to walk away from that meeting overwhelmed.
That's a really good way to think about it.
People walk out of that product office hours like generally fired up, but a little overwhelmed.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah, that's a really good way of thinking. I like that. Yeah. Sick. All right. Look at you evolving as a
that's the competitive spirit.
Yeah. There you go. All right, what else you got in your list?
I think we hit them all.
Nice. Oh man. That was a lot over the decades. Any
10 years.
Yeah, any funny stories you want to reminisce about? Anything go through there?
I think one of the funniest stories that I still go back to today, and if you listen to the last podcast, it was with Adam Zuha, right? So you can get a picture of what he looks like, right? So speaking of pictures of Adam Zuha, we did a Secret Santa back when we were, 10 people as a company. So we could do a Secret Santa or a white elephant. I don't really know what the difference is.
Yeah.
But anyways, the gift that he brought to the table was a framed picture of himself.
In the pool.
Not just any picture, shirtless in the pool. One of our engineers at the time, Shizu, super junior engineer.
Very quiet guy.
Very quiet
reserved.
guy. First job out of college. He actually stole that picture from somebody else who got it. And that's like still to this day, one of the funniest things, just because it's so Adam to like give away a picture of himself.
Yeah.
And then for Shizu to like steal that and then put it on his desk.
And validate Adam.
It just kind of really spoke to the culture. And like, it was just a great like engineering and sales dynamic too. So like, I don't know. I still go back to that story as being like one of the funniest.
That
things.
is one of my favorite ones. Shizu, if you're listening, you're the man. If you want to come back, we'd love to have you back.
Yeah. Open invite.
I love the boomerangs too. We've had some good people who have, unfortunately left, and then maybe grass isn't always greener, and then come back, and we have some great boomerang candidates around here. And the other one I love is how many kids have been born now.
Yes.
Like you look at that parent resource group channel, and it's there are a lot of kids now. There are a lot of Flow babies around here. Yep, one for me.
2 for me, 1 for Mike. A lot of onesies.
We were trying to like add it up, and it's like over, I think, 50 at this point, which is
that's wild,
nuts. And people have met here and gotten married and stuff. It's like it's really, there's so much stuff that happens. You just don't expect that to be part of starting a company. When you're like, when we were just the 3 of us at Amplify, I wasn't like, oh, one day we're gonna see, we're gonna hire like 22-year-old people, and we're gonna like watch them grow in front of us, and they're not just professionally, but like, get a girlfriend, get married, have a kid.
Become grown-ups, like it's before our eyes. Like we're not that old.
I know.
It makes me feel old, but it is wild. Like that's the wild thing to me is people ask me like, oh, how many employees do you have at FloQast these days? And I'm like, oh, 600. And they're always like really shocked by that number. Yeah. And that's like you rarely get these opportunities to like take a step back. Like I think we could do a better job of like celebrating the wins a little bit, reflecting. So this has been fun to kind of do that.
Yeah.
This has been fun. Shout out to marketing for getting us together to talk about this. But I think it's just it's crazy that to have that many people work here is just like it's a privilege for us. Like we get to do this, and that many people put trust in us at the helm. Not just us, but like their families are putting trust in us. Yeah. Right. So it's amazing.
People
it's humbling.
We're gonna like get choked up.
Yeah.
That is
I
Yes.
made Mike cry.
Yeah,
There's
you
the bingo card.
All right. I love everyone at FloQast. Thank you so much for taking a risk. I'm going to cry on the podcast. I don't want to do that. Yeah, transparency is key. At our all hands meetings, I talk about this stuff, and I certainly get choked up in front of everyone at all hands. So, anyway, I'm looking at our sheet here, and apparently there's a surprise reaction segment
Let's do
that
it.
we're supposed to be doing.
We have time for that. Producer, do we have time?
It says surprise reaction segment parentheses. It's a surprise. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. Oh, okay. They're going to Slack us.
All right, some real-time reactions.
Switching to Slack was a good day. We were just talking about that at lunch again also. Reminiscing.
Chat days.
Just like G-chatting each other, whatever, early on. It is funny when I open up a G-chat with Colin from like 20. Let me see if I start a message with Colin.
Yeah, what's the last message?
Oh my gosh, who knows? He was he was asking me tax questions. This is too good. He was asking if you could deduct state tax from your federal income tax return. I said, yes, that's how you deduct. We paid early for California because all right.
CPAs are not tax accountants. Two different things.
That's so funny, dude. Yeah, going back in time. All right,
that's
so
how marketers feel.
That was my last chat with Colin. It was about taxes. Whoa. This is cool. Okay, so the surprise reaction was they sent us our, as I learned from working with marketers, you have something called a momentum release when you do a press release. And it's basically, as I learned from Win White, our former CMO, shout out to Win. You know, you always want to be in the news. And if you don't have a product announcement or something like that you can drop, you want to have a momentum release occasionally, just talk about how much you're growing and all that good stuff. It's kind of like a show off press release. So here's ours from 2016. This is very cool.
Okay.
It says FloQast continues rapid growth through addition of new customers, expansion of team, and a 300% increase in revenue.
300%.
300%. There you go. FloQast, you always started with a provider of accounting close management software developed by and built for accountants. Wow, tagline was a little different. Announced today that it has added more than 36 new customers in the 2016 third quarter. Additionally,
36. Okay. There's some good call outs and names on here. Shout out to the Lakers.
Yeah, this is cool. This is going to get better. Additionally, as of September 30th, 2016, the company has grown its workforce by nearly 90% and increased revenue by more than 300% year over year. You got to love it when the denominator's small on that one. FloQast is currently adding, on average, 1 new customer per day as more and more companies recognize how the fast-to-implement, easy-to-use cloud-based solution helps accounting teams streamline, manage, and more efficiently close their books. Okay. During the third quarter, FloQast acquired, among others, the following clients. Man. Redfin.
Those are some names.
Los Angeles Lakers. Admiral, Dixie Group, Smug Mug, Newsill, Spreadfast, Trevally, Western Dental, and Zag.
Okay.
Nice.
There's still some customers today on that list.
Yep. And obviously a fan favorite, the LA Lakers there. That was such a cool logo.
Yeah,
that's just, we're obviously based in LA, and so a lot of Lakers fans getting them. And then that resulted in us being able to recruit Troy, one of my favorite longtime FloQasters.
Yeah, that was the catalyst. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, these guys work with the Lakers and they're in accounting? Let me learn more.
It's pretty great. All right, well, so we go on to talk a lot about, we have some quotes and stuff. We had a really nice quote in here from one of our early customers, Matt Southard. He was the controller at Telesign.
Yep.
Yeah, he was great to work with, but man, oh wow, we put pricing in this thing. Okay.
Why? Why would we do that?
FloQast with monthly licensing rates starting at, I don't even want to say it, per accountant, combines process management, reporting, and collaboration into a single blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Just say we do a lot more these days.
Yeah, we do a whole lot more than close management, but this is really cool, reflecting on a press release where we're talking about adding more than 36 customers in a quarter. We're now up to hundreds of customers.
Yep.
Per quarter. Man, there you go. That feels pretty cool.
Here we go. John Siegel says, we're going to integrate with the accounting systems that are out there, said Whitmire. The grand vision is we can handle all financial reporting. It's a grand vision.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
One step at a time. Yeah. All right, man. This has been a great podcast. I've enjoyed chatting with you.
Appreciate the invite.
I've loved working with you.
Yeah.
You're the man.
I love you.
Love you too.
All right. Signing off. Bye.
There you go. Bye.